I woke early after a restless night. I turned over 3 or 4 times in my bed and rubbed my eyes before fully recovering consciousness, still unaccustomed to the civilized life I'd been leading for a month, feeling anxious every morning at not hearing the straw rustle and not feeling Nova's warmth against me. The monkeys had proved extremely generous. I had a bedroom, a bathroom, clothes, books, a television set. I read all the papers. I was free. I could go out, walk about the streets, attend any entertainment. My presence in a public place still provoked considerable interest, but the emotion of the first few days had started to die down. Cornelius was now the scientific head of the institute. Zaius had been dismissed. He had been given another post, however, and a new decoration. Zira had become Cornelius's assistant. As for me, I took part in the scientist's research work no longer as a guinea pig, but as a collaborator. With Cornelius's permission, I have embarked on a study of the men. I should like to teach them to talk. This is my great ambition. I have not succeeded, I admit. It is only with the utmost difficulty that some of them manage to repeat a monosyllabic sound or two. It is not much, but I am persevering. What encourages me is the new insistence with which their eyes try to meet mine, eyes which for some time have seemed to be gradually changing in expression, and in which I fancy I can see a suggestion of the curiosity of a superior substance peering through the animal perplexity. I move slowly round the room, stopping in front of each of the captives. I speak to them gently, with patience. They seem to listen. I go on for several minutes, then give up speaking in whole sentences and pronounce a few simple words, repeating them over and over again, hoping for an echo. One of them clumsily articulates a syllable, but this is as far as he will go today. The subject soon gets tired, abandons the superhuman task, and lies down on the floor as though after some exhausting effort. I sigh and pass on to the next one. I finally come to the cage in which Nova is vegetating in solitary sadness. I often think of Nova. I cannot forget the hours I spent in her company. But I have never again entered her cage. Human self-respect forbids me. Is she not an animal? I now live in the highest scientific circles. How could I let myself indulge in such promiscuity? I blush at the thought of our former intimacy. Since I have changed camps, I have forbidden myself to show her more affection than I show to her fellows. I utter her name, then my own, pointing my finger alternately at her and myself. She imitates the gesture. But I see her expression change all of a sudden, and she bares her teeth as I hear a gentle chuckle behind me. It is Zira, accompanied by Cornelius, who laughs without unkindness at my efforts, and Zira's presence always incites Nova to anger. Cornelius is interested in my endeavours and often comes to see the results for himself. Today he looks rather excited. Would you like to go on a little trip with me, Ulysse? A trip? Quite a long one, almost to the Antipodes. Some archaeologists have discovered some extremely curious ruins out there. We set off a week later. Cornelius has not told me anything more, and I feel he is reluctant to do so, but what I already discern in his theories gives me a strange sense of exultation. It is a whole city that the archaeologists have laid bare, a city buried in the sands of a desert, of which nothing remains but ruins. Something existed before this present era. But what? After a month of feverish investigation, we are disappointed. For it seems that this prehistoric city itself was not so different from those of the present day. We have discovered remnants of houses, traces of factories, vestiges showing that these forebears possessed motor cars and aeroplanes, just like the monkeys of the day. These show that the origins of mind can be traced far back into the past. This morning, Cornelius has gone ahead of me to the spot where the workmen have laid bare a house, with thick walls made of a sort of reinforced concrete which seems better preserved than the rest. I am still idling outside the tent which I share with Cornelius. He is in the trench with the workmen. He often takes a hand in the digging for fear they might do something silly and an interesting object escape them. Here he is, emerging from the hole, holding in his hand a small object, which I cannot make out.
Ulysse! Ulysse!
Whatever is it?
A doll, Ulysse! A doll!
It is a doll, an ordinary china doll. By a miracle it has been preserved, almost intact, with vestiges of hair and eyes, which still reveal a few chips of colour. It takes me several seconds to realize. Then I've got it. It is a human doll, representing a little girl like one on earth. This doll is clothed like a doll at home. The remnants of a frock, a blouse, a skirt, and knickers can still be clearly seen, dressed with the taste which a little girl on earth might show in adorning her favourite doll, with the care that a little she-monkey on Soror would take to clothe her monkey doll, the care which she would never show to dress up an animal figure like the human figure. And this is not all. In putting it down, Cornelius happened to press the mechanism which has been preserved intact. It uttered one word. Papa. The doll talks. Papa. The little human doll repeats as Cornelius picks it up and turns it round and round in his nimble hands. Cornelius remains wrapped in thought for the rest of the day. I have the impression he is now frightened of pursuing his research and is regretting his semi-revelations. Now that his excitement has abated, he is sorry that I should have witnessed his discovery. On the very next day I am given proof that he regrets having brought me here with him. After a night's reflection, he informs me, avoiding my eyes, that he has decided to send me back to the Institute, where I shall be able to continue with more important work than in these ruins. My seat on the aircraft is booked. I shall be leaving in 24 hours. I spent the month following my return in bed, suffering from an infection I had probably picked up on the site, and which assumed the form of violent bouts of fever similar to malaria. I was not in pain, but my brain was on fire and could not stop turning over in my head the elements of the fearful truth that I had glimpsed. There was no more doubt in my mind that a human era had preceded the simian age on the planet Soror, and this conviction gave me a sort of intoxication. On second thoughts, however, I am not sure if I ought to feel proud of this discovery or be profoundly humiliated by it. My self-respect notes with satisfaction that monkeys have invented nothing, that they are mere imitators. My humiliation derives from the fact that a human civilization could have been so easily assimilated by monkeys. How could this have happened? In my delirium, I could not keep my mind off the problem. True, we civilized folk have known for a long time that we are mortal, but such a complete disappearance makes the senses reel. A sudden disaster, a cataclysm, or else the slow decline of the one and the progressive ascent of the other? I am inclined to the latter hypothesis, and I find it extremely indicative of this evolution in the monkey's present-day conditions and preoccupations. This importance they attach to biological research, for instance. I am fully aware of its origin. In the old days, many monkeys must have served as experimental subjects for men, as in the case of our own laboratories. These were the ones who first hoisted the flag, who were the pioneers of the revolution. They would naturally have begun by imitating the gestures and attitudes observed in their masters, and these masters were researchers, learned biologists, doctors, nurses, and warders. It is now 2 months since I first visited my former companions in captivity, my fellow humans. Today I feel better. I have no more fever. Yesterday I told Zira has looked after me like a sister during my illness. I told her that I was planning to resume my work in the department. She did not seem very pleased, but she raised no objections. It is time for me to pay my visit. A strange emotion makes me pause on the threshold. I now see these creatures in a new light. It is with anguish that I wonder, before making up my mind to enter, if they will recognize me after my long absence. Well, they do recognize me. All their eyes are fixed on me as they always used to be, and even with a sort of deference. Am I dreaming, or do I really discern a new look in them? A look reserved for me and different from the glances they bestow on their monkey warders? A gleam impossible to describe, but in which I fancy I see an awakened curiosity, an unusual emotion, shades of ancestral memories trying to emerge from bestiality, and perhaps an uncertain glimmer of hope. This hope I have myself unconsciously nourished for some time. Is it not the reason why I am overwhelmed by this feverish exaltation? Am not I, Ulysse Meroux, the man whom destiny has brought to this planet to be the instrument of human regeneration? Here, distinctly stated at last, is the hazy notion that has been haunting me for a month. The good Lord does not play dice, as a certain physicist once said. Nothing happens by mere chance in the cosmos. My voyage to the world of Betelgeuse was decreed by a superior consciousness. It is up to me to show myself worthy of the choice and to be the new saviour of this human race in decline. As before, I go slowly round the cages. I force myself not to rush over to Nova's cage at once. Is the envoy of destiny entitled to favourites? I speak to each of my subjects. The moment has not yet come for them to talk. I do not mind. I have my entire lifetime to accomplish my mission. I now approach my former cage with studied negligence. I look out of the corner of my eye, but I do not see Nova's arms stretched out through the bars. I do not hear the cries of joy with which she always used to greet me. A strange misgiving assails me. I cannot restrain myself. I dash forward. The cage is empty. I summon one of the warders in an authoritative voice, which makes the captives shiver. Zanam is the one who appears. He does not like receiving orders from me, but Zira has decreed that he should hold himself at my disposal. "Where is Nova?" He replies he does not know, in a surly manner. She was taken away one day without any reason being given. I repeat my question, in vain. At that moment, luckily, Zira turns up to carry out her tour of inspection. She sees me in front of the empty cage and realizes why I'm so upset. She looks embarrassed and at once starts talking about something else. "Cornelius has just come back. He wants to see you." At the moment, I don't give a damn about Cornelius, or the chimpanzees, or the gorillas, or any other creature in heaven or hell. I point at the cell with my finger. "Where's Nova?" "She's ill," said Zira. "She's been transferred to a special wing." She beckons to me and leads me aside, out of earshot of the warder. "They made me promise to keep it secret, but I feel you ought to know." "She's ill?" "Nothing serious. But it's important enough to put the authorities on their toes. Nova is expecting." She's pregnant," Zira announces, observing me with a curious expression.